welcome everyone to episode 20 of the Dual Boot Diaries, the weekly podcast where two longtime Windows users learn to use Linux daily. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Patrick Murray.
I'm your other host, Will Smith, and we're not Linux experts, but maybe we will be one day. What's going to happen, though, is we're going to talk about this every week for a long time, and then at the end of that time, we're going to delete one of the partitions to our hard drive, either Windows or Linux. Who knows? It might be both. Maybe we'll just be like, no, we're done with computers. I'm going to go live in the woods. That's the kind of week I've had.
Yeah, there we go. That's a curveball. No, wild card. There we go. Wild card. Yeah, we just completely get rid of computers from our lives and move forward.
Yep.
I'm in for it. There we go.
Welcome to the Log Cabin Diaries. My name's Will.
Oh no, that's not okay.
I'm moving to a log cabin up in the woods.
Up in the woods. Yeah. Also, hey, side note real quick before we get going, because we've got some stuff to cover, but not a ton, I guess. Just spoilers. Is that there's a little bit of housekeeping up front. So if you are trying to find or access the Discord, the full nerd Discord, where we have Linux talk, we've got PC talk, we've got gaming talk, all the fun nerd stuff happens over there. There's a link in the description, and I've gotten plenty of messages. I know you have, Will.
Oh yeah,
of people being like, "Hey, this link's broken." I think we finally fixed it. I think the link is permanent. Also, theoretically, hopefully, the full nerd is discoverable. So if you go on Discord and just search for the full nerd, maybe one day it'll show up. That's something we need to iron out. But either way, the link in the description should
for
be
this
rock
podcast.
Solid.
This episode, like right down there.
Yeah, down in the description. Get in there, join us. Not only do we have a channel just for Linux people, we have a questions channel if you want to get a question in. We actually are going to cover some today.
We have a support forum if you have problems and need some help with stuff.
Yeah, it's where you can get all of the information of the back and forth I had setting up my VM. So if you want to see the dirty details and you're having a problem with your VM, there's a lot to dive into there. Mm-hmm. So
I bet you talked about HDMI dongles a lot in there.
Actually, not a ton. Somebody sent me, I guess there's a new HDMI dongle that people are like getting really excited about. And it's not just a dummy plug. It's also, it does something else. I don't know. I don't remember who.
Welcome to Dongle Talk. This is our new weekly podcast. We're going to talk about different kinds of dongles.
Supposedly this dongle is blowing up the Linux world.
Wow.
I might have to get excited.
I might need to get a dongle. Maybe I need more dongles in my life. But
that's true.
Before we get into it, I kind of wanted to do a vibe check because it's been a minute. This is the 20th episode. I feel like it's a little bit of a milestone. This means we've been doing this for basically 5 months. And
I'm not good at math, but I'm going to trust you on that one. Yeah.
And I, over the holidays, I was feeling pretty confident. Like I don't think I booted into Windows one time even on my main desktop computer. I was basically just chilling and doing everything in Linux, and I got I did some complicated stuff, and I was feeling good about like I got the git config syncing working and all that stuff. And then this last week, it kind of all that confidence collapsed because I've hit like 3 or 4 things that have been kind of hard, and I'm a little bit up in my business. Like if I was a pitcher right now playing baseball, the manager would have come out to the mound and been like, "Hey, are you good? You got your head straight? You got to get your head on right, Will."
Yeah. Hey, Will, come on, look at me. Straight in the eyes. Look at me. What? Come on. Bring it together.
You got the juice left. You got some juice. You just hit 3 guys in a row. Okay, you hit 3 guys in a row. It's not going
working
good.
Through something. Yeah.
We don't have anybody in the bullpen, so you gotta get at least one more out, or we're gonna have problems. So anyway, that's where I'm at. That's my vibe. I'm a struggling 6th-inning pitcher with a tired arm that's doming people left and right. How are you doing, Adam?
I mean, I guess I've never been too confident on this journey.
Okay.
Right. So, but that's, I think, just an overall thing anyway. I usually don't think I'm an expert in anything. So I just assume I don't know.
Okay.
But I mean, good question though. I'm trying to think. I mean, number one, I'm not crying and screaming. Like before we started this whole process, there was at least a thought in the back of my mind of like, oh man, we're going to put ourselves out there. We're going to go for like 12 episodes and I'm just going to be like, hey, Will, I'm sorry, dude. This is either taking too much time or the juice isn't worth the squeeze, or I love Windows. It made me realize it loved Windows, and none of those things have happened. I mean, it just feels like a part of my life in a way that I never would have expected. Mm-hmm. So I'm also, I guess I'm not on the other end where I'm like, oh yeah, Windows, F off, I'm completely done with you. I'm not there either, because like, I think it's just kind of different use cases, I guess, like, because, you know, part of it's gaming, part of it's work, part of it's laptop, part of it's desktop. And there's just so many things that I'm trying to work around and figure out that I'm not willing to make a clean break either way, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
But I mean, when I think about my confidence level, I at least feel like, okay, I've been able to figure out some intense stuff. Like, at least the feedback people have told me is like, hey, you figured out that VM thing, which a lot of people do struggle with. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, technically it wasn't me. Like, that's the other part, is like, I at least feel like I know that I have people who have my back, that I can go into Discord, or we have awesome people in the comments who are constantly giving suggestions or willing to help out. So like, if anything, that just makes me feel better to keep on going as well. So like, I feel like if I was just in this alone, like if I was just a normal person trying to figure this out, I would probably try to seek out that community stuff, because it really helps. But if I was just trying to do this on my own, I probably would have given up, been like, okay, whatever.
I mean, look, this is something that friend of the show, Nathan Edwards, and I talked about, because he's an editor over at The Verge, and just recently started a column where he's making the switch as well. We'll I haven't talked to him about it yet, but we'll try to get him on at some point in the future to talk about how it's going, because I think it'll be interesting to see parallel paths. But but we were talking about it, and he was like, yeah, I think having the pressure of having the weekly check-in, the regular check-in of this, is going to actually be helpful, because it kind of gives me a license to futz around with stuff that I might not devote the time to otherwise. Like, for example, switching the stream machine from Windows to Linux is very much something I wouldn't bother with probably if it weren't for this show. But with the show, it's an excuse to learn a new part of the whole stack and how everything works and all that, which is good.
Good point.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to see where you're at. I like I said, I was feeling real good over the holidays, and the last week has been kind of a reality check. So we can talk about that in a minute. But I'm curious.
I'm curious to hear how that is. And I guess the last part of it, like, please leave a comment on the video or go into our Discord. Just give everyone else a vibe check too, because I would love to hear other people who are going through this journey with us, what they're feeling, what they're liking, what they're not, that kind of stuff. It's like, I really, once again, it's the community part of it that really is helping me and warming my heart. So I want to hear back.
Yeah, very much the same. Very much the same. Well, okay, so with that out of the way.
Yeah. So what came crashing down, man? Like, I'm so curious.
Okay. So when we last left off, I think I had got the stream machine up and running. I thought everything was good. I'd had some stability problems, for folks who don't remember, and
which you thought was hardware, and then you figured out it was the OBS.
Literally all of the hardware. Yeah. And then I figured out it was OBS having some sort of problem, and also NVIDIA driver jankiness. So I went through the whole process. I upgraded the machine. I swapped out the motherboard. I can't remember. I think I swapped out the motherboard after we talked last time. I can't remember.
No. You had said you had one on the way. I can't remember if you had swapped it out or not.
So I went through the whole process. I turned off the PCIe ASPM stuff, which was causing a lot of log errors and the correctable log errors, but a huge volume of them. And then I turned off a couple other things on kernel flags, on boot flags. Turned off PCIe ASPM in the OS with the boot flag. And then I ran a test that was, I think, running while we were recording the episode last week. And it ran for like 4 or 5 hours. I was just piping. I had a video window running on my PC that was just piping a nonstop stream of video out to the Twitch broadcast test server, which is like basically you just put a flag on the end of your Steam key, on the end of your Twitch key. And it basically just does a stream and it monitors the health of that stream. And you get a thing there's a tool called Twitch Inspector that lets you see the relative stream health. So like your bit rate, whether you're dropping frames, any of that kind of stuff.
Cool.
That ran for 4 hours, no problem. 4 or 5 hours, no problem. And then I fired up a stream with my daughter shortly after we recorded Dual Boot Diaries last week. And it crashed within like 2 minutes of starting the stream.
Oh,
like hard locked the machine again, same as always. It was like, F this, unplugged the whole thing. I had the new motherboard coming. I swapped the motherboard out the next morning. I'm still seeing the same ASPM errors. I still see an occasional NVIDIA crash, but other than that, it seems fine.
Other than that, it seems fine.
The NVIDIA crash is, I think, an NVEnc/CUDA thing. There's some shenaniganry I need to get into, and I'm going to actually, I think, switch. I'm still on the Cache install. I have 2 different SSDs for that machine right now, one with Cache on and one with Ubuntu Studio. So the next step is to switch back to the Ubuntu Studio one and see if that fixes the problem, because I feel like their NVIDIA drivers are a little less on fire than the Cache ones. So that's where that's at. But so I don't have any real clarity on what's going on. It hasn't crashed since that first time after I did the motherboard reinstall.
You think the OBS thing actually wasn't an issue?
I think there were multiple factors causing crashes on that machine. Going back and looking at the logs, it seems like there was an OBS problem where there was a Windows specific API, like a Windows specific source that was set up in the config files. Because even though the internet was like, oh yeah, you can totally export your profiles from Windows and import them on Linux, that does not seem to be the case. It seems to be in profiles though, not scene collection. So I recreated the profile and it's been fine since then, with the exception of one very specific NVIDIA crash that they know about, and there's a fix coming in the next version of the kernel or something, or the next version of the NVIDIA drivers rather. Everything else is going pretty okay.
Well, real quick before we move on from this thing, I guess, have you considered maybe switching to an AMD card if you think it's an NVIDIA thing? So
you can't do the Twitch enhanced broadcasting stuff on AMD
that's
cards,
what it was.
Right? It has to be AMD. Yeah. It has to be NVIDIA. And I tried 2 different NVIDIA cards. I tried a 4 series card. I tried a 3 series card. Both of them seem to have the same problem. I actually reached out to some friends who work at different large silicon vendors, and they were like, if you keep having this seems weird and seems like something we should pay attention to. So like, let me know if this keeps happening and I'll recreate the machine in our lab and we'll figure it out. Cause they didn't seem to have a bug filed for the OBS crash. But anyway,
last question real quick. This streaming machine, is it running Neri?
It is not. It's running KD Plasma. Yeah, I'm running.
Just asking.
Like
just
that
asking
one, I'm running
for a friend.
Look,
no reason.
You're Neri hate. Just because you can't see the future, man, doesn't mean that the future is not here and ready. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Just get on your tiling window manager. You need to get ready for that. It's coming. It's coming, man.
No hate towards Neri. No hate towards Neri. I just feel like every time we run into something, you're like, oh man.
Every week,
come to find out it was a Neri thing.
Every week, Adam's Neri hate comes further along. I mean, look, to be clear, Neri is like Linux beta, not just beta, right? So it's like, it's software that's in active development, and I think Noctalia shell, the shell that I use, has been in active development since like June of last year. That's when they started the project. So each update for it is enormous. Like you get new cool stuff every time you run Paru update. So when you update everything with Paru. So okay. So anyway, I did that. I got bottles running. I used bottles because the bot that I use to manage the Twitch stream to like change OBS settings and stuff like that. If the mods need to turn off a input, or if I accidentally put my credit card number up or something on the screen, they want to turn off my input for me.
Oops.
the bot that I run that is a Windows only bot, but they do have a supported, which is weird because it's like a Python and C++ thing. They could make a Linux version, but they were like, we don't bother making a Linux version because it runs great on Bottles, which is a like containerized wine infrastructure. So you can get a fixed, yes, hi.
Raising my hand in the question, question in the front. Yeah. So wine is the kind of like the Proton thing where it's like a translation kind of thing. And then Bottles is the application that runs wine.
So wine is not an emulator. That's what wine stands for.
Yep. I knew that.
It's Proton is based on wine. Proton is a downstream derivative fork of or variant of wine. Okay. That's specific for gaming stuff. Wine is more general purpose. Windows, you can run Proton stuff inside Bottles as well, though, I think at this point.
Well, so I just mean like wine is the actual thing that helps do the translation, like connect the dots of like, here's what it's supposed to do on Windows. Here's how you do it on Linux. We're going to connect the dots. Yeah. And then Bottles is just a
Bottles GUI is just a good interface for building wine containers that are specific for a particular application. So like there's a bazillion variations of wine, and some of them are good at some things and some of them are good at other things. Some of them are good at a third thing. And what Bottles does is lets you set up an easy to launch executable that will then launch your Windows application in a way that doesn't require you to maintain system level Proton or system level wine or whatever. So it's a convenience for people who want to have multiple things running multiple different versions of wine and stuff like that.
So does this, I guess I haven't thought about it, and I'm going to assume nobody has brought it up, but like this wouldn't really help my Photoshop issue, right?
No, it doesn't work with Photoshop. Okay. Because the way wine works is it as I understand it, and I could be wrong, so please scream at your radio at will and write us angry letters. It kind of almost works as a wrapper where it takes the Windows calls and builds the infrastructure that you need for the Windows app to work. So it gives it like the file hierarchy, like the app data folder and the documents folder and all the stuff that like Windows applications expect to be there. And then it also does things like provides .NET libraries and C++ libraries and the Visual C++ libraries and all the kind of DLLs that Windows applications require. It provides those and then hooks them into the Linux equivalents in a way that makes the application just kind of run. From a user perspective, what it meant was I went to the Bottles site, I installed Bottles with Paru, and then I went to the Bottles site for this, the Bottles configuration script for this application, ran that, and then there was just a button in there that said, yo, launch streamer.bot. And I did that, and I imported my config, and it just worked, which was really nice.
And does it look like, do you have to launch Bottles and then launch the bot, or are you able to launch the bot from the dock or whatever? So
theoretically, I should be able to launch the bot from the dock. I haven't bothered to do that yet because it's like there's enough stuff on that machine that I have to do manually right now that it's not viable for me to do.
I mean, but in the future, that's the goal you want to get to. Is
in the future, yeah.
Utility, you just turn it on and everything's ready.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Or I guess you leave it on, or I turn that machine off.
Well, so that machine gets turned off. The way I have it set up on Windows is it just boots straight to the desktop, and then all the things that I use to stream launch, and then I hit the button on my Stream Deck, and it's good to go. So I never have to touch a mouse or keyboard with it. It's kind of appliancey. I'm not there yet on the Linux side, and the other problem is Discord. Specifically, Discord integration with the Stream Deck, which I usually use Discord on that computer, so that I can have, Discord the sound coming out of Discord going into its own bus on the mixer, and the sound coming in from my gaming PC on its own bus, and then my microphone on its own bus, so that I can adjust all the volumes independently of each other. And I can't get Discord to work in a realistic way. And also the Discord plugin for Bitfocus Companion kind of blows. Like it lets you do things like adjust, connect to servers and stuff like that, but it doesn't do any of the other fun stuff like all the soundboard functionality. It lets you, morning zoo up your stream with horns and yeah, exactly. Like, look,
we need more of that.
Yeah, I have I have a wide collection of Bobby Hill sounds, and theme songs from sitcoms. So I want those to be able to play. If somebody does something stupid, you got to play the curb song, right? Like that's how it goes. So, so that stuff isn't integrated with the Discord plugin. The Discord plugin is kind of janky. It doesn't work super well with the Linux Electron installs. It's very tailored to Windows. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. That's the next phase. I actually was looking. The Bottles thing works so well for the bot that I was like, can I just install the Stream Deck software in Bottles and then get it to work? But I haven't had a chance to dig further into that. I'm going to put that in my homework for next week. So that's like the check-in. I did get BitFocus Companion and the satellite working so that the main BitFocus Companion install runs on my desktop PC. And then I have a remote that connects to that. So all of my BitFocus Companion stuff, the configuration is in one machine, one file, and I can adjust it from this computer that I'm sitting in front of, which is really nice. But yeah, so that's where I'm at with that. The thing that broke me this week though was gaming.
Oh no, that's not good.
So I've been playing Arc Raiders, and the frame rate is, let's see, what's the nice way to say this? On Linux, it's extremely variable. So sometimes it's 240 frames a second, and sometimes it's like 90 frames a second. And it kind of whim-whams between those incredibly quickly.
Like in one session, or do you mean in different sessions?
I mean, you watch the number go up and down like a EKG.
Okay. It's okay. Do you know what you do? You just put an FPS limiter, 40 FPS, smooth. You're good.
See, okay, now it's interesting you say that because Arc Raiders has an FPS limiter built in. And I was like, I'm going to solve this by flipping the FPS limiter. I'm just going to lock it to like 140 frames a second. No problem. Doesn't work in Linux. Doesn't do anything.
Oh, no.
No chance. I mean, that's not true. Sometimes it's more around that 140, 160 frames a second. Like it hangs there for a second occasionally, but then it goes right back up to 250 and then right back down to 90. The upshot is it feels a little herky-jerky in a not good way. And I realized this because I was in Windows the other day doing something else. I think I had a guest spot on some show, and I was like, I don't want to jack up my, sometimes when I'm doing stuff for other people and they're not Linux friendly, I switch to Windows just in case because I don't want to have any uncomfortable explanations. So I was there, and then a friend of mine texted me. He was like, hey, you want to play some Arc Raiders? Like, oh yeah, I'll play some Arc Raiders. So I didn't bother rebooting. I just played Windows. Like, God, it feels so much better here. What's going on? And
that's not good.
Yeah. So no, it wasn't good. It was a bad feeling. So then I started reading about Proton configuration and flags to see why I'm having these problems. And so the first step was I used FrameView on Windows and I used Mango HUD on Linux, and I grabbed some profiles. I mean, they're not like scientific because it's not like, it's really hard to benchmark that game because you spawn different places every time, and like there's different map conditions and all sorts of stuff. So there's no easy repeatable, like even straight line that you can run across the map without getting blasted by somebody. But the lines on the same map wildly different on Linux and Windows. And I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. So I looked at the stuff I had in my command line on Steam for Arc Raiders, and I started removing the flags one by one because I grabbed a command line from the Proton DB that was like, hey, this works and doesn't crash when you're alt tabbed and all this stuff. And I that's where I left off. I was doing that yesterday afternoon. I haven't had any more time to spend on it, but it's the only
what kind
game
of flags do you have on right now? Like,
so let me see. Hold on. Nano.
So I know you were trying to troubleshoot that issue where it would crash when you would minimize
when you were alt tabbed
or alt tabbed
during a load. Yeah, specifically.
Yeah.
So like some of the flags were simple. Like I specified the primary monitor to the Wayland driver so that it always launched on the right monitor, right? That one's pretty straightforward. I also had Proton enable NV API 1 and Proton hide NV GPU 0. I don't know what either of those do. Like the documentation for the Proton flags is a little hinky. But like I had NV sync turned on, NT sync turned on, And let's see. Hold on. So anyway, I turned all this stuff off and it still worked just fine. Enable layer Mesa anti-lag. Don't know what that one does. Mesa VK WSI present mode immediate. That's the thing that makes it not buffer frames so that you don't do like triple buffering or anything like that, I believe. And then I was also using GameScope, which is Valve's thing that they use on the Steam Deck to like capture the windows appropriately. And I was doing things like force grab cursor so you didn't accidentally mouse out of the window, which is a thing that can happen on non-exclusive full screen games because they recommend you don't do exclusive full screen on Arc Raiders. And then I had a flag that it told it to use all the CPU cores, which is fine on the 9800 X3D. So yeah, that's like, it's just, I've been experimenting. It's kind of like if it was a single player game, when I was playing like God of War or Outer Worlds or something like that, it's much easier to troubleshoot this stuff because the loop of launching the game, getting into the game, testing to see how it looks, and then going back in and changing something and getting back into the game and testing to see how it looks is a lot easier than in an extraction shooter where you're playing a multiplayer game. You have to get into the multiplayer game, like you have to queue and then you have to like extract and all that stuff.
Isn't there a practice zone though?
Yeah, the practice zone I'm not seeing the same performance impacts on the practice zone. No. The map's a lot smaller. So, okay. Yeah.
Well, and also, yeah. Well, because I mean, for me as a benchmarker, right, you're trying to control variables, and part of it's like, okay, could it be a network thing? Could it be who you're teaming with? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it could have been a network thing, except the game actually displays network indicators when you're having performance problems, and you can get pretty good. Actually, what I should do is turn on the full. They have a full like metrics mode that shows you all the different things that where your bottlenecks helps you get a better idea of where your bottlenecks are built into the game. So like their panel that shows your stats, your game stats, can be fairly detailed if I recall. So maybe I should flip that on, play a couple of games and grab some footage and then go back and look at that.
Well, because then I'm thinking like, yeah, using GameScope, could GameScope be, I mean, things that are different between Windows and Linux, right? I'm trying to think of variables.
Well, so I turned GameScope off. It didn't fix the problem. So the first thing I did was strip everything out of the command line and see if that fixed the problem. And it did not. So then I put GameScope back in and did the force lock cursor, and that seems maybe a little bit better. It's hard to say. So it's like I'm a little bit at a loss for how to troubleshoot this. The other thing is like Outer Worlds feels fine, right? Like this may be unique to this game in a way that like maybe I should just turn frame gen on and not worry about it. But turning frame gen on a multiplayer game feels bad. So anyway.
Yeah. Also, it's some of those things that I've run into, especially with like the issues that I was having with the audio pop-ups in Discord. People were like, oh, I saw some comments of people being like, oh, why are you worrying about this so much? And I'm like, well, number one, the pop-ups in Discord are just annoying as hell. So that, but then also I'm trying to learn this. So like I'm also trying to figure out, okay, well, where's the variables? And it's like, at least in my mind, I don't want to just patch it and just move on. I am at least actively trying to understand how things are working and want to know what's happening there.
I think that's part of the reason I'm feeling like, I think that's part of the reason this week was hard, is because I spent some time over the break and I felt like I was getting a pretty good understanding. Like troubleshooting this Stream Machine gave me a pretty good understanding of how to like access log files and what to look for in log files and like understanding of how the system actually works. And now I've reached another thing where I have no idea how it works, and I'm kind of just I'm doing the thing that Mikey always yells about. Yeah, I got something. Yeah, exactly. I got
Windows humbled you. They were like, "Hey, Will, you think you got this? You don't got this. Let me humble you here."
This is it's paying me back for the Microsoft T-shirt. Yeah. So anyway, that's where I'm at, and I think that's the big. I didn't get into the sync saving for the Mister and the Stream Deck, although I did. Steam Deck. I did get some suggestions from the audience about how to do that in ways that were easy. It's unclear if those saves are compatible with each other, but we'll find out shortly. And And then the GeForce Now for Linux stuff, there's a bunch of things in the AUR for that. There's a bunch of flat packs for that. I don't think any of them are the official new one that's on the site. I don't think that's out yet. Or if it is, it's only in Ubuntu.
Yeah, I have a NVIDIA contact, and I told him, like, hey, let me know after the show when I can get access. I've not heard from him, so
okay.
Who knows? Maybe he
he
just hasn't had a chance to follow up. But I think, I don't think that native one is out. Obviously the Steam Deck one is. I know that's native to Linux, but their full native non-Steam Deck one, I don't think is out yet.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, it just made me think too. I wonder how different that one is than the Steam Deck one. Like if you were to run that on the Steam Deck, what differences you would see that actually the non-Steam Deck one might give you access to things that the Steam Deck native one doesn't have.
Yeah, because my guess is the Steam Deck native one caps you at like 1280 by 890 frames a second, right? Because that's like...
No, because I loaded it on the Legion. Legion
really?
Go, running SteamOS,
and
it worked over there, I believe. And that one, it has the higher 1920 by 1200. And I believe that it said it was running at that native resolution.
So I tried a couple of the flat packs for GeForce Now on my Cache machine, and I had pretty consistent scaling problems where like the cursor would fit, like it's a 4K display, but the cursor would be in the 2560 by 1440 window in the like 2/3 of this, and I couldn't get over to the far right side, or it didn't align right or something. Which, look, go ahead and say it. Say the thing you say.
Oh, could it be a Neri problem?
Yeah, that's 100% a Neri issue. 100%, guarantee it.
Well, there you go. You need to reach out to NVIDIA and be like, hey, does this work well with Neri?
Yeah, what's your Neri strategy?
Yeah, and they'll be like, pound sand.
Yeah, go away. That's all. Figure it out yourself, nerd.
Yeah, it's a community-based project.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like, look, I'm fine with that. I don't mind that at all. I did think the other day, I was like, what if I put KDE on here so that I can boot into that session when I need to do something that's not working right in Neri? And then I found that there's a KDE. I'm going to dig the futzing laptop out for this again, just so you know. There's a KDE tiling window manager now. So they have a tiling solution that lives inside KDE Plasma that you can just install, and then you can switch. It doesn't work it's not as smooth as Cosmic was, where you can flip the tiling on and off per workspace, but you can get a tiling workspace inside KDE apparently. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So what have you been up to? You recovered from CES. You didn't get sick, which is good.
I didn't get sick, but I'm still lacking in sleep. I have not fully caught up on sleep.
You seem a little slower than normal. I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah. Well, so we came back Saturday. So the way we do CES is Saturday to Saturday. So a full 7 days. And then I don't like to take time off right away to recover, which is probably stupid, but also usually we're coming out of CES with things that need to get wrapped up. There's still videos that are being posted, things like that. So usually I'll work the first 3 days of the next week, and then actually I'm taking it off after today. We're recording this on a Wednesday. I'm taking off Thursday, Friday, and then Monday we have a holiday. So a nice 5-day weekend to fully rest and recover. Okay. But I guess check in on Linux stuff. I can give you a thumbs up and say that I lasted the whole trip.
Wow!
Like I knew when we did the check-in, we recorded on a Wednesday. I think it was
Wednesday,
like our usual Wednesday morning. So I still had multiple days left, and I lasted the whole way. All this build up, all this month-long journey to be like, man, when the rubber hits the road, am I going to go crying and screaming? I didn't. I continued to use Linux up into the end. So yes, the same workload I used that I talked about last week, I continue to use, where I had all of the stuff on a thumb drive. And by stuff, I mean gathering photos, clips, making the project folders, doing our naming, all that kind of stuff, just for organizing the different videos we do. And then once I gathered all the materials, then I went to the VM and said, hey, boot or mount this USB drive. And then I would make the photo in there and save it, and then unmount it back into Linux, and then do the rest from there. So really I did as much as I could in Linux. Actually, that's not true. I think there were maybe a couple times where I started to do the photo file or make the thumbnail, and then I was like, I want a logo of the company in the photo. So I just quickly did the browser in Windows rather than mounting and unmounting.
What?
So I know. So either way, it worked, except for something I forgot to bring up last week, and I continued to struggle with it. There was this weird thing where I would export the JPEG out of Photoshop, unmount, and then go to the browser or the file manager in Linux, and the JPEG wouldn't be there. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe it just didn't export properly. Or
did you eject the drive safely from Windows?
I did. Yeah. Hey, I did. When it's a VM, it's easy to just hit a button. When I'm in real life, I just yank it, but that doesn't help me.
Can't just yank it, man.
So no, I would eject it safely from Windows, make sure it told me, hey, everything's good. And then I would go to the VM and you unmount it, and you hear in Windows it unmounting, and then in Linux it mounting. And it wasn't every single time, but it was maybe a third of the time.
That's weird.
I was like, wait, I know the file's there. And the first couple times I thought it was an export issue. So then I would mount the drive back in Windows and the file would be there. And I'd be like, wait, so the file is there? And I even tried to export it another time. And I tried to export it to different folders, and sometimes that worked, sometimes it didn't. So the only thing that would make it show up for sure was a complete reboot of the system. So maybe the handoff between the USB drive on the VM, there was something hinky, but it was weird. It was weird for sure.
That's really screwy.
Yeah, and I have no idea why. Like, I didn't have time to troubleshoot it. I'm in the middle of a trade show, so I was just like, okay, well, I know rebooting is typically going to work, so just do that.
When you rebooted, it was there though in Linux.
I believe so. Yeah, for the most part.
We should. I am wildly curious by this. I wonder if you have right behind caching on the. But when you inject it safely, that should write that stuff out anyway. That's really weird. I have no idea why that would happen.
I mean, the other problem that I thought of is that I noticed when I eject it in Linux before I mount it in the VM, it doesn't always. Okay, I don't know how to describe it without a visual, but you've got your window manager. You've got on the left side, at least my window manager or my file browser, whatever. On the left side, I have all the mountable objects, and then it has that little eject button, the triangle with the line underneath it. So I would hit it, and usually I get a pop-up in the system being like, okay, it's safe to eject. But then in the browser, it still had the eject button, like it didn't.
Oh,
so it didn't always so maybe it just wasn't properly ejecting before but I mean, it would give me the system notification pop-up being like, oh, it's safely ejected. So
the solution to this is that we need you to set up a Samba share either on the Windows machine, which is probably easier, or on the Linux side, and then just mount that shared folder so you can just drag and drop stuff between the two. Because if it wasn't all the way unmounted and then you mounted it in Windows, then you have two different file systems. You have two different OSs writing to the same file system at the same time, which can cause problems.
Yeah, so it was weird. I mean, it wasn't a showstopper. It didn't make me immediately be like, F it, I'm going back to Windows. But it definitely was like...
If you unplugged it and replugged it, would it work then? No. Weird. Yeah. Like something's up. Is it exFAT formatted or NTFS?
That is a good question. And I don't know off the top of my head. I believe it's exFAT.
Okay. It's like a small, it's an external.
It's a 2 terabyte thumb drive.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's weird.
So that was a weird, that was like the only other weird thing that I was just like, okay, why are these files not showing up?
When we're in the office next week, bring it in. Let's futz with it and see if we can recreate it and figure out what's going on. I'm curious about that. I want to do some science there.
Also, after my changes to the firewall and the Pipewire stuff, never got another pop-up again.
Oh man, you didn't get to send anything to Mackenzie's laptop?
No, I didn't. Yeah.
You should have been playing. You should have
I know. It didn't even cross my mind. Actually, now that I think about it, it didn't even cross my mind to try to play something. I saw it on that first night that we got to CES, and I was just like, oh no, not this again. Please.
There you go.
So, talking with people in the Discord and even in comments on YouTube, I actually think it's the Pipewire thing that ended up doing it, because I implemented both things at the same time, but maybe it was a firewall. I don't know. Either way,
probably both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully
maybe a
both.
combination of
Hopefully
both.
your firewall's in order now.
I mean, listen, there were people that told me, hey, you're overreacting to the firewall thing, that actually all it's doing is surfacing. It's not like my laptop was being able to be seen by them. It was just their laptops are broadcasting over the network and your laptop is seeing it and giving
that's
it as
probably
an option.
true. Yeah.
So like, I wasn't worried. I wasn't thinking somebody was going to hack my laptop or anything. It was mostly just, it was mainly Discord pop up every 5 seconds, just being like, oh my God, this is so annoying. I mean, I guess
that would be maddening.
The answer could have been just don't get on Discord, but there's plenty of chat that opens on Discord, especially during trade shows and things
just
like that.
Discord, it turns out, has replaced Twitter as the way I talk to people who I don't have in Slacks or text messages a lot of times these days. So
yeah,
it's a primary form of communication, it turns out.
Yeah. Other than that, like I do actually want to almost like put together, at least just for me mentally, like, okay, I did this at CES. What would I want to do at the next trade show? I think you're right. I think not having the thumb drive thing would be nice, to just have all the files locally. Because I mean, really, right now I have the thumb drive thing, but that's because I'm moving between my laptop and my desktop. Yeah. When I'm there at the trade show, it doesn't need to be a thumb drive. Like there was no opportunity for me to be like, oh crap, I need to take this thumb drive somewhere. And if it was, I had other thumb drives on hand as well. So I think
we know how you feel about thumb drives.
Yeah, I know. Just load them up.
Just grab them off the floor.
Every single thumb drive, free thumb drive that I can get, I pick up, immediately take home, put it right in my system.
Nope.
You got to see what's on it. How do you know? It's like Schrodinger's cat? No.
That means the thumb drive is either alive or dead, and you don't know until you plug it in. Yeah.
And how will you know? So I got to plug it in.
Don't plug it in.
Anyway, I think some sort of local solution that can talk to both is probably going to help on that. The dongle thing actually ended up working out pretty well, except for I realized at most trade shows I have an external monitor as well. Because
so you could just put it on the second monitor.
So yeah, I was like, oh well, I could have just put my Windows VM on a second monitor, but the amount of time I was in there,
it's a waste of that second monitor.
Yeah. So I don't know. I need to think about that one a little bit, or maybe there's a way to have an external monitor that has multiple inputs, so I could just switch the input quickly to Windows VM. I don't know. Yeah. So some things to think out. I want to already start looking towards the future and how to tweak it, how to make it better, how to make it easier.
Okay.
That kind of stuff. So yeah. And then, I mean, on the other side of it, I've done a little bit of gaming, but it's been exclusively on handhelds, and I have not got back to my desktop system, but I'm excited to play more games on my desktop. Actually, I will say that there was one issue that I haven't talked about here, but I want to figure this out, is that right now my daily driver is the Lenovo Legion Go 2. I did install a Bazite on it, or Baked ZD, however you pronounce it.
Nobody calls it that.
Baked ZD, yeah. Exactly.
Nobody's ever said that before.
Anyway, there's this weird thing where it's taking a long time to wake from sleep, and it seems to be getting longer over time. Uh-oh. And I don't know what that is about. So
that's not good.
No, and I'm talking like 10 seconds. I hit, like it's asleep. I hit the power button and literally nothing for like 10 seconds, and then it still takes a couple seconds after that to have the controllers wake from sleep as well. So something is really hinky on that handheld, and I'm not sure what.
Have you updated the Bazite lately?
Well, it's funny because after I talked about what I did on this new Bazite home theater PC, there were people who told me, hey, you should never go into Bazite itself and run the DNF update, that you should allow it to do what it's going to do. And so, yeah, people there, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the names, but some people gave me suggestions to maybe roll that back or undo what I had done on the desktop system. I need to look into that. and I'm almost positive on this Legion Go. I did also run the DNF update when I first installed it. So yeah, maybe TLDR, really, if you're going to use Bazite, don't try to run the update from the terminal. Just let the system update itself.
Yeah, if you're the whole point of the immutable system is that it's running all the system partition stuff as an image that's immutable, that's not changeable. So when you do that, you're putting your system in a weird state.
So I don't know for sure. That's just a theory, but people have told me, hey, if you're going to run Bazite, don't update it through the terminal.
I've heard that people say that.
Yeah. So yeah, I need to figure that out. Also, when I installed Bazite on that Legion Go 2, it was the very first version that was compatible with the Legion Go 2. Like it was literally just like, oh, hey, the new update kind of thing. And also, I don't know, I need to figure out what to do with that handheld, because then at CES, Lenovo announced that they will be having full SteamOS compatibility on that device. Unfortunately, it won't come in a different colorway like the Legion Go S.
Boo.
So yeah, they had it there, but it was literally just the same thing. And they said, we're going to sell it with Windows and a Steam option. So I might just end up putting SteamOS natively on it. I don't know.
I mean, that seems like the right choice if they support it, right?
Yeah.
Should we take a couple of questions?
Yeah, let's take a couple of questions. Because we haven't taken questions in a bit. So I think there's a couple I wanted to get to. The first one comes in from friend of the show, Brian, over on Discord, asks, now that you're a couple months into Linux, would you feel comfortable supporting another family member in attempting to switch to Linux? Or do you feel you would need a couple more months of daily driving to be able to offer that kind of support? A really good question. I actually have thought about this.
It depends on the user, I think, right? Like my wife has a MacBook and primarily does stuff that lives in the browser, right? And I would probably, without a whole lot of hesitation, set her up on like a GNOME, a standard GNOME distro, an Ubuntu or a Fedora or something like that. That's not a rolling, and let her rip. My daughter plays a lot more games, and I don't think I would put her yet on a Linux setup, just because I don't want her to, like, she plays a lot of Roblox stuff. She plays games with her friends. She spends a lot of time on Discord. She plays kind of a surprising amount of Discord games, like those, like the Wordles and all that stuff. And some of that stuff is surprisingly janky on the Linux side for me.
Do you know if Roblox actually works on Linux, or is there an anti-cheat?
I don't think I don't think they care. I think they're pro cheating and all the bad things on Roblox. Don't but they sell a lot of things. So yeah. Okay. So here, I'm going to say this before I start, but the fact that I let my kid play Roblox games is not an endorsement of Roblox. Don't let your kids onto Roblox if they aren't already.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, maybe this is a way for you to say, hey, you should stop playing Roblox. I'm going to give you Linux, and then you literally can't play Roblox.
So Roblox doesn't actually support it. There are a lot of tools that people seem to use, including this thing called Sober, to run Roblox on Linux.
So there you go. Maybe that's the way you get her off Roblox, is that you give her Linux and be like, hey, if you really want Roblox, then you're going to have to learn how to do stuff in Linux.
So Roblox is great because it taught my daughter about aggressive monetization and gambling in video games when she was like 6 years old. Shout outs to
learn the hard way.
Yeah, she's been through the fire of like Korean MMO monetization at age 7, which was pretty messed up. The only reason we let her have Roblox is during the pandemic. She was in like first or second grade, and none of her friends' parents believe in video games. So they were like, well, if the kids want to play Roblox, it's free, I guess. And I was like, yeah, they take their toll in blood, man. And as a result, everybody got on Roblox. Had I to do it over again, I would have just bought Switch Lights for every one of those freaking kids and given them a copy of Animal Crossing and been like, okay, yeah, this is going to cost $800, ultimately cheaper and less damaging for all of the kids involved. So don't let your kids on Roblox.
Well, what about friends? Say people you know that you game with or something, or like, hey, should I heard you're doing this Linux thing, Will, do you think I should try it?
Depends on the friend. That's the answer always. Because there are some friends I have friends who are good at computers and friends who are bad at computers.
Listen, I'm going to call out some people here.
Nope.
We know Nathan Edwards.
Yeah, Nathan Edwards.
I mean, he's already
up to
doing
Nathan.
it.
Yeah, he should do that.
Right?
I think it's a good idea for him.
What about Norm?
I think Norm could do it. Norm is a highly productive person, though, and it might not be a good fit for him. Like there's going to be a downtime period for him, which is probably going to be challenging. Also, he's really Mac focused, so he doesn't have a lot of the same problems we have with Windows.
And also he's so into VR, like that probably will. Yeah. Okay.
My experience with VR on Linux has been not entirely great. So I haven't spent that much time with it yet, though. And also probably that's Neary related problems, if I'm being real, because it's almost certainly that Steam VR expects KDE to be there. And when I think about it. So yeah, anyway, Neary's great. Highly recommend it. Everybody should try Neary. Tiling window managers are incredible.
You're really selling me on this. Okay. I won't put anybody else on blast, but yeah. What about extended family members?
No, absolutely not. Look, extended family members, if they're like, hey, what should I buy? I'm like, buy an iPad so you don't ever have to call me and you can just go to the Genius Bar. Look, in the early 2000s, when I was at Maximum PC still and Windows XP was out, and every third day I would get a call from a family member. It's like, hey, I open my computer, I have like 3,000 pop-ups. How do I fix this? And then I'd spend 4 hours on the phone with them decrapping their Windows machine. I don't ever want to do tech support for someone that I like or enjoy spending time with again. It left me broken and key in important ways because like these days, if a family member calls and I'm like, well, just get on FaceTime and then point your computer at the screen and I'll tell you what to type in, right? Back then, you had to be able to do everything by memory and you had to be like, okay, you're going to need a thumb drive that you can boot off of, and you're going to need to get the decrapifier in there that's going to remove all the malware that you've installed because you were on some weird porn site. And like, I don't need that in my life. So if you're a friend or family member and you want tech support from me, buy an iPad. Thanks. Leave me alone.
Okay.
What about you?
Wow. Hard limit. The only scenario, because I was thinking about this too, like I feel like I'm not an expert in any way, that if they were to come into an issue, I'd probably be like, sorry, I'm just going to Google that and you can probably do that too.
Let me Google that for you.
Yeah. The only scenario that I can think of is that if I know all the person is going to use it for is like Google Chrome or something, like literally just, oh, hey, all I'm going to do is web-based stuff, then yeah, I would feel way easier to be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, let's install that for you. Like I think about my wife. She has an old MacBook from Air, I think from like 2012.
Yeah.
And she loves that laptop. I've really tried to rip that out of her hands and there's no way I'm going to do it. And I think she would probably be more prone to allowing me to load Linux on there than try to give her a new laptop or something like that. And yeah, all she uses it occasionally is just for web browsing stuff. I think that would be completely fine. Same thing for, I remember when we started this journey, so many people were like, oh, hey, your grandma who needed to get off Windows 10, which happened, I don't know, over a year ago, I guess now. And we're like, oh yeah, just load her up with Zorin or something, and she won't even know the difference. Nah, she would know the difference. Yeah. Like she noticed the difference between Windows 10 and Windows 11.
Yeah.
So like she's gonna notice the difference. Like she's not stupid, but she is a great candidate for what I'm talking about. Is like when she uses it, pretty much all she does is Google Chrome, except for Excel. That was the one thing where I was like, oh, okay, well, if I had to support her trying to run Excel. She's
a spreadsheet jockey, your grandma?
I mean, to be fair, she probably could just do it all through the browser, but hey, listen, I'm not going to argue with my grandma. I'm going to ask, what do you need? Okay, I'm going to give you the tools. But I do think I would be comfortable helping her on that because I know the variables that she's going to need help with are going to be so tiny that it's like, oh, okay. Oh, you need to figure out how to change the brightness. Oh, okay. Well, in this, it's up in the top right corner instead of the bottom right corner, right? It's just like real basic kind of troubleshooting.
I mean, for me, there's a split here, and this is the thing that Gordon and I used to talk about in the old days, but like the old Steve Jobs metaphor of the desktop PC being a pickup truck and most people not needing a pickup truck, right? And I feel like most of those people who are using just browser based, who are living in a browser, are like, man, Chrome OS Flex is real nice. It's still Linux, but it's not really. And that's going to do like 99% of what somebody who does their Chrome work in Chrome is going to need. And also it's going to be a lot easier to maintain than something like this. Now, the thing I will say is I think that the immutable distros are a really good opportunity for these types of folks too. But it does worry me that like your immutable Fedora Bazite will let you jack it up by updating it outside of the main Bazite updating UI, right? Like it's weird.
Well, I think it also depends on the person.
Yeah.
My grandma is not going to break a bunch of stuff and then call me.
Yeah.
She's going to be like, oh, well, I have a new Bluetooth keyboard. I don't know where to do it, so I'm just not even going to touch it, and I'm just going to call Adam. Yeah. So, like, I think that's a little bit different. Like, she's not going to go in there, and she wouldn't even need an immutable because she would not actively do anything to hurt it. She would just try to have something and then be like, I don't know how to do this. So
try to futz with it and figure it out. The things I would ask about are what kind of hardware people use, right? Like if they're using scanners or printers, or worse, like printer scanner combos, or if they're using like photo printers and things like that. Like if they use software like Photoshop that just doesn't really run on Linux, right? A lot of people pay that $10 a month for the Lightroom and Photoshop if they're amateur photographers, and like the Linux equivalents are getting better, but most people are not going to want to change the OS and the core thing that they use the computer for at the same time. Yeah. I've had like, you think about like, what do they use to listen to music, right? Do they just go to YouTube and queue stuff up? That's no problem. That'll work anywhere. But if they use Apple Music or Spotify, those can be challenging. And I mean, I guess you can use the web interface for both of those, but they kind of stink, right? So it's, like you have to really break down how somebody uses their computer and what they use it for and what other things that they use that are connected to it before I would even consider trying to foist Linux on somebody. Like this is the thing where if they come up and ask you, if they're like, hey, Will, I'd like to know about Linux, then I'm there to spread the good word, but I'm not going to probably push Linux on anybody at this point in my career.
Yeah. And also the added layer of then trying to help somebody, like, yeah, for me, if it's real light stuff, then sure. But anyone deeper. Yeah. I don't think I'm there yet. I'm still firmly in the, I'm going to Google that or go to our Discord and be like, hey guys, I don't know what's going on here.
Now at the same time, if like, if somebody who I know is a pickup truck computer user, right? Like Joey Famelli, who's our producer at Tested for years, he's still the producer at Tested, is a great example because he was always the first person I knew that like tried the new video editor. He was always trying to learn what the new thing was and see how people were using it, and like has always been really aggressive about like whether it's 360 video or binaural audio or all the different things that like the different trends that have come and gone. He's always happy to experiment with that stuff. And he was like, hey, I want to try building a like when he moved off of the Mac, when he moved off of the studio trash can Mac to a Windows PC, I helped him get Premiere and all of his video pipeline stuff set up for there. When DaVinci came out and became good, he was like, hey, what do I need to do to make DaVinci fast? And I helped him work through that. And if he was like, hey, I want to move my DaVinci Studio editing pipeline to Linux, I would absolutely line up to that because he's going to take the time to figure it out. And he's like, you lead him to the water and then he's going to drink, right? That's a great, like, that's the kind of person I think is a good candidate for this. Whereas somebody who's just like uses a computer like the same way they use a toaster is probably not going to give a shit about Linux. Sorry, beep. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Well, a couple more questions. We got one specifically for you, Will.
Oh.
Zerkram over on Discord asks, anyone know what configurations Will was referring to on the latest episode of the Dual Boot Diaries for switching displays over Sunshine?
Yeah, so we were talking about Sunshine, and one of the things that Apollo does that's really nice is it turns off your main displays. If you're on like if you're on Windows, it turns off your physical displays and spins up a virtual display that's the same resolution as your device that you're streaming to. So if you're streaming to Steam Deck, it's 1280 by 800. If you're streaming to an Xbox that's hooked up to a 1080p TV, it's 1080p. If it's a 4K TV, it's 4K. Sunshine doesn't do that by default, But you can, Hobbs over in the TechPod Discord had posted their solution for this, which is to use a tool called K-Screen Doctor, K-Screen-Doctor, which I think is a KDE specific thing that lets you turn on and off monitors from the command line. So what they were doing was they were using, welcome back to dongle talk. They had an HDMI dongle plugged into the HDMI port on their card, and they were turning on the HDMI dongle display and turning off the two physical displays on that PC and setting that to the resolution of the device, or maybe 1080p, I can't remember. And then when the session disconnected, they'd run the alternate script, which turns off the HDMI dongle and turns on the other two, the physical monitors. So connect a Moonlight client, turns off the physical displays, turns on the dongle fake display so that there's something to output to. I guess on Windows you don't need the dongle technically. On Sunshine, they were turning on the dongle, turning off the main displays, and then turning off the dongle and turning on the main displays based on whether a client was connected or not. Now, I'm not able to do that because I use Neary, but I did look at writing a little script that changes the line in my Neary config for the include that configures the monitors. So right now, like my monitors are described in the Neary config file. And because I'm sharing that config file across multiple machines that have different monitors connected to them, I've pulled that monitor section out and put it in a separate file that's in an include, which is a new feature in like the November release of Neary, I think. And that lets me then have machine-specific monitor config files on all the different computers I use, which is quite nice. And all I'm doing it's not working yet, but the plan is to change that include line with a little bit of Python code so that it does streaming one versus not streaming one. But on the Linux side, you do need a dongle because you can't make a fake display in Wayland without the HDMI dongle, which is the problem you had with the virtual machine thing. But the tool again is K-Screen Doctor, and shout out to Hobbs for figuring that out because it was a good solve.
Okay, awesome. And the last one we want to get to is from FGTFV567.
Just rolls right
off the tongue. Have you noticed a difference in general battery life on all the laptops you've used between the two OSs?
On the more standard distros, no. In fact, actually, it seems as good or better on like when I was running KDE Plasma or Cosmic on that Lenovo ThinkPad. The battery life was exactly what I expect from I think that was an Arrow Lake. I can't remember. Might have been
or Lunar Lake, your Asus?
No, the ThinkPad, the Lenovo.
Oh yeah. That one's Arrow. No,
it's
that one's Meteor Lake.
Yeah.
Meteor Lake.
It was what I would expect from Meteor Lake. 10 hours of use was pretty standard if the backlight wasn't too high. On the current Neary laptop, that's the framework. I think that there's some stuff I have to configure that I haven't done yet because it seems to be like the use time, like when it's turned on and you're using it, the battery life is about normal, but it seems to be drawing a lot more when it's asleep than I would expect from. So I think it's not doing the S2 idle transition properly. And this is one of those things that like on the Asus, it just worked right. It just was configured right out of the box. On this framework, I think I have to dig into the wiki page and figure out what configuration settings I need to change to get the proper low power sleep versus the high power sleep. So, okay, it seems like it's like 10% a day consumption at sleep, which seems pretty high, 8 or 10. Yeah.
But I'm also thinking you switched to an AMD based Strix Point.
That's true.
So yeah, maybe it's the AMD sleep stuff. Like that CPU uses much more power, wattage than the Lunar Lake one.
This is another one of those places it's been fun to actually learn how stuff works because I didn't fully understand this. The S2 idle is a thing that Intel came out with a few years ago. That's basically like it's like S2 recovery time, but with S3 power usage. So for folks who don't know, there's different sleep levels in the ACPI spec, and it starts with like S1, which is I think just the computer's still on but the screens are off or something, I don't know, and they go all the way down to like S5, which is hibernate, and there's also interim steps in between, and like the word on the street from everything I've been able to read is that S2 idle is as good as S3 which is the normal sleep, the old normal sleep state, but it recovers a lot faster for some reason. And I think you need SSDs for it to work. I don't know the exact gist. But I'm definitely not falling over to hibernate where everything's just turned off and RAM is saved to disk on the Linux machine, which is probably why my power draw is so much over when it's asleep. So
interesting. This is one of those things that I feel like Wendell would really dig deep into. Yeah. I remember when I was looking at his Arch install thing, like he puts separate sleep states on separate partitions for some reason.
Oh, you have to have swap that's equal to the size of your RAM for Hibernate to work is the thing. So if you have a 64 gig RAM, then your swap sub volume has to be at least 64 gigs. So that the RAM can write out to that, basically. So
that's what it was. Okay. Yeah. And for me, I guess I expected, just based off of all these years of Linux talk, that people are like, oh, hey, there's less bloat, so you theoretically get more performance, better battery life. It's just going to work. That I was expecting battery life to be noticeably better. And then once I got into it and I've used it, people are like, oh, no, actually, it really depends on the distro. Yes, there are really lightweight distros, but also I'm using a heavier one with GNOME. I guess GNOME is like even the window manager can have an impact on it.
Like the 2D versus 3D window managers and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like now that I'm in it, I wouldn't say it's worse, but I don't feel like it's better. Like it just feels like, oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe I'm switching laptops enough that it just feels like it's kind of dependent on the laptop, the processor, how big the screen is, how high resolution, is it OLED, all those other kind of factors. It just feels like another equation in there, not like, oh, this is a slam dunk. Linux so much better than Windows when it comes to battery life. I don't feel like that.
I think the other thing is that Windows has gotten pretty good at battery life over the last 5-10 years. Like with the notable exceptions of like the warm bag and all that stuff. So like, I don't know that there's a lot of room on like a Lunar Lake machine to make it better than what you're going to get on a properly set up Windows install, but it shouldn't be worse is where I'm at.
Theoretically. Yeah. So I guess the other point of it is that maybe I'm probably not the right person to ask either, because most of the time I'm using a laptop wired in anyway.
That's true.
Either when I'm here or at the office, either I'm wired in or I have the ability to just grab a wire kind of thing. And especially, I mean, I'll tell you with the laptop I'm using right now, the Asus ProArt, and I have that discrete GPU in there, like I don't expect amazing battery life on that anyway. And so for me, those workstation kind of laptops, I usually have plugged in anyway. So
I tend to use more thin, like Ultrabook style computers, and I expect the battery life to be good and I expect to not have to worry about battery life if I plug it in. Like if I plug it in at night, I expect to not have to plug it in during the day. And that has been mostly the case, unless I didn't leave it plugged in overnight and it drained 20% over a couple of 3 days. So.
Okay. Well, let's get to the homework and wrap this up.
Yeah.
I will say real quickly, once again, I for the CES stuff, I do kind of want to decompile my thoughts and then make an idea for how I would change things in the future. I am starting to question, do I need to have a discrete GPU? Like how much of that whole VM setup with the discrete GPU was necessary? I am now kind of curious. Could I have done it with no discrete GPU option now that I figured out the logistics of just how it works? So I might test that. I don't know. That one's iffy. And then I do want to get back to the desktop. So I need to do the gaming desktop. I need to look into rolling back those updates that I did in the terminal. Somebody had given me the script, and I need to find that. But it doesn't seem like it would be too hard. It's just like essentially undo the updates that I had done.
Yeah, because and I was trying to think, I guess if you get an update for Bazite, it's not going to undo them because they're living in your home folder. Those updates will live in your home folder, right? So you have to get them out of your home folder is the kind of TLDR.
Yeah. And also, just to be honest, like me, I guess I haven't done this in a while, but if I can't figure it out, that install is so new that I'm just like, nope, wipe it and do it again.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the last part of the gaming stuff is that I do want to figure out officially doing some sort of testing just so I can say, hey, listen, here's my install over here. Here's how I set it up over here. And here's the kind of performance I'm seeing. Like, I'm not going to make it like this huge, big report and, countless spreadsheets of benchmarks and things like that. But I think, at least for me, I am curious to know like performance and things like that. So
I want to do, I think I'm going to do a benchmark run on Windows and Linux on this machine so I can kind of suss out my see if my the feeling that I have about Arc Raiders is happening everywhere and I'm just not noticing it because other games are performing enough that they're masking the problems, or because that's my I want some data. I want a big gnarly spreadsheet and I want some graphs that show the micro stutter and I want to see what the actual problems are.
Okay. The last thing that I do want to note is that one of the things that was released announced at CES was the new AMD Ryzen 7 9850X3D essentially it's just a higher binned 9800X3D, that the top of the line gaming part, which is already awesome, and it's just more awesome.
Nope, it's garbage now. The other new ones out. The other one's a waste of sand. Get rid of them. Throw them all in the trash.
So I don't know for sure, but I based off of past review cycles, I have been sampled this stuff, and I would imagine AMD is going to sample new CPUs. So theoretically, I should have the CPUs coming, or a CPU coming in the next who knows how many weeks kind of thing. So I'm like, okay, is this where I maybe start to dabble in some of the Linux testing? I think I have to work through like what I'm actually trying to test with it and just kind of get a feel for it there. So it's something I want to look into. If anyone has any things, oh man, I would love to see you benchmark X, Y, or Z, let me know. But for the most part, if you want to hear that kind of talk, you're probably going to subscribe over on the Full Nerd. So
yeah, I'm like, look, I want those Linux kernel compile benchmarks. Let's see it. Let's get it. Let it. Wow, that was a big eye roll for audio listeners.
Actually, you know what? That is a good question though, because there was a video. I don't think we talked about it here, but there was a video that Mr. Linus himself did with Linus Tech Tips about Linus Tech Tips built him a new machine, and he built a Threadripper machine with a very low end discrete Intel GPU, which is weird for most people because I think most people are trying to do gaming on a desktop and you want a bigger GPU than a CPU. But he was like, hey, listen, I want all those cores in a Threadripper because I'm compiling all the time. And so like I am curious, like, man, are there compile workloads out there that stress CPUs in ways that would be good for CPU testing? Like maybe that's a good way to integrate some Linux benchmarks. So that
the compiling stuff it is massively multi-threaded, and it's usually like IO and like scales with cores, right? So it's an interesting benchmark. I don't think it's particularly useful for a consumer. Like there are definitely people that do. It's funny. This is one of the things we talked about with the guys at Puget on the Full Nerd a few months ago, in terms of benchmarks. Because like if compiling stuff is a regular part of your workload, then compiler benchmarks are incredibly useful. But in terms of the overall audience that does regular compiling, it's like 0.1% of the worldwide audience probably that is regularly compiling software. So it's not a particularly widely applicable benchmark, right?
Well, except for it depends on what you're benchmarking, right? I'm not benchmarking to see how this CPU runs in that compile. I'm benchmarking generational uplift, to see if it's faster than the differences. Yeah. So finding unique workloads that will stress a CPU and see generational shifts. It doesn't really matter if it's applicable. It's more like, oh, okay, it's going to stress it in different ways in like a Cinebench.
That's true.
Theoretically,
that's
maybe.
True.
Who knows? I need to dig into it. Well, what are you going to be working on the next week?
So I'm going to keep it the Stream PC. That's next. That's
keep chipping away.
I'm getting a little closer every time I fire it up and work on it. I need to get the rest of my like Stream Deck configuration stuff over, because right now it's just like office lights and a couple of microphones and then the go live button for the stream. I don't even have a turn the stream off button, and I don't have like I need some usability stuff. The next one is somebody had suggested, and I didn't follow up on it, so I didn't save the thread, but that I can set the zoom frame rate when it's off screen in Neary to not power save that window. Because for folks who don't remember last week, we talked about a problem that I had when I was live streaming the CES keynotes with Elena of the Full Nerd and PCWorld. And her zoom window was basically going to sleep as soon as it was off screen on my Neary setup. So it was dropping down to like 5 frames a second, which meant I was capturing that window in OBS to display it on the overlay, and it was running at like 5 frames a second. It looked bad. So there's apparently some window rules that I can set up so that won't happen with zoom windows in particular, and I need to figure that out. And then I want to do like I said, the game benchmarking and figure out like if the Arc Raiders problem is an Arc Raiders problem, or if it's hey, something's not right with Proton on my machine and I need to figure that out. Or if it's just maybe Linux gaming isn't as good as everybody said. And I'm going to do some benchmarks to quantify that so that the internet doesn't scream at me when I say something wrong.
They're gonna scream at you either way.
Yeah. And then the last one is I want to figure out if I need to do something to make the sleep power consumption on the framework better and figure out what the kind of next steps for that are. And the nice thing about that framework, again, is that like the Arch Wiki, because it's one of their supported laptops, it has incredibly detailed information about post-install configuration to get everything working exactly the way you'd want. I just haven't I got like 2/3 of the way through that list of things to do, and then had other stuff to do with my time. So, yeah.
Okay, nice, sweet. Well, then that wraps it up for this episode. Check back next week for your fix of Linux talk here on the Dual Boot Diaries. If you want to listen to us on the go or put us in your ears, just listen to us. You don't want to see us.
Yeah.
You hate our faces. You just want to listen to us. We should be anywhere you can find the RSS feed pointing to: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, Pocket Casts, any of those fine services, Deezer, iHeartRadio. We should be on all of those. And if you're listening over there, give us a thumbs up, a like, a star rating, a review. Share us with your friends. Anything should theoretically help grow this community and continue going with this awesome podcast. But if you do want to see our faces, for some reason, you're like, man, what does Adam and Will actually look like?
Yeah.
Then you can go over the YouTube channel. The Full Nerd Network is the YouTube channel where this podcast lives. You can subscribe over there. There's a playlist of all the episodes, and you will get them fresh every Friday as well. And yeah, I guess.
Just remember, don't call AI stuff slop, because it hurts the vendors' feelings. Like it's hurting the industry. It's
so sad.
Yeah. Don't be mean to the slop. It makes the models sad. So
yeah. I know I talked about it a little bit last week, but I do want to shout it out again. I have an interview with a gentleman over at AMD. His name's Andre. You actually interviewed him about ROCm late last year. I had a chance to talk with him about FSR, and I did press him specifically on Linux support and all that kind of stuff. Really good interview. That's over on the PCWorld YouTube channel. So yeah, go find that. The headline is something like AMD talks FSR. I can't remember. The thumbnail actually has a little pull quote from him saying we're here to support the Linux community or something. So you should be able to find it. And then, yeah, Linux talk continues to get sprinkled in over at the Tech Pod. Brad and Will made Tech Pod over at techpod.content.town.
That's right? It. Yeah.
And then
no,
go ahead.
I was just saying we I think this week we're going to talk about I had a DNS problem at the house this week. So this week's episode, we're going to get into that and figure out how the bad choices I made in the past and how I can make them better in the future.
Also, your year-end ranking did not include any sort of Linux distro.
Linux distro
effects.
startup sounds don't count because they're not real.
Wow.
Sorry. Look, we ranked, I think 55. We tier listed 55 startup sounds over 2 episodes
between consoles and Windows.
We forget and Mac.
Include Linux.
We put Mac in there.
Oh, you put Mac in there. You didn't even put Linux. How could you guys forget Linux?
We didn't forget Linux. It was a conscious choice. The number.
Disappointed.
how many variants they made of that one basic Mac chime. It's the same sound, just in different like qualities, different amount of reverb. And like at some point on a couple of machines, they just were like, hey man, we're just going to make this one sound weird for no reason at all. The Mac only got, I think, 1 or 2 entries on the list. So like the original Mac chime, and then also the modern one, the post jobs return one. But the Linux startup sounds like my Linux distro doesn't even have a startup sound. Does yours?
I don't know.
Yeah. See?
Who knows? But you didn't even talk about it. You didn't even address it.
We forgot the Neo Geo Pocket. We'll send a letter in. We'll write it. We'll write a response.
Send a letter in.
Yeah, send a letter in to techpod@content.town. Yeah, and we'll address it in the month-end questions and answers episode.
There you go. Boom. Yeah. How could you? And then if you want to learn more about PC hardware, we cover that over on the Full Nerd podcast. You can subscribe over there. And also, just a little hint of a teaser maybe over here is that I'm working on another podcast, and this one might be about handhelds. So if you're into handhelds, keep an eye out.
Holding hands.
Keep an eye out.
Big fan.
Because I'm very excited about this new podcast series. So yeah, get over there
at the Full Nerd Network.
Subscribe to something.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't exist yet. Well, the podcast doesn't exist yet. It will be on the Full Nerd Network.
Okay.
On YouTube, but it'll have its own RSS feed anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get out of here so I can start my 5-day weekend.
Yeah.
You need to continue to work. Keep going.
Oh,
don't stop. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Bummer.
That's fine.
All right. Thanks everybody. Bye.
Bye.